Chris, how you doing today?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, I'm doing
Nice
well.
to meet you.
You too. So when we set this meeting up, you said you had 10 or 15 minutes. Is that still the time frame?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Cool. Yeah, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Just want to come in, more introduce myself, introduce you to Cigna, and just answer any questions that you may have.
Okay.
But before I get into that, I think it's better to know just what types of business and size of businesses that you guys represent. Because I don't want to come and talk about anything that just doesn't really pertain.
Okay. As far as size, predominantly under 50 lives, but
Okay.
I would say 50% of our business, just off the top of my head, is in the 2 to 49 segment. Probably then 30 to 40% in 50 to 200 live, and then we have a handful of accounts, our premier accounts, about 200 lives.
Okay. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but Cigna operates in the 50 to 5,000 market, or at least that's my responsibility. So it seems like you've got a decent amount under 50, but still you've got some business over 50.
Yeah.
So I think that if you like what you hear, there's an opportunity to work together.
Okay. Now, are you changing the 50 lives anytime soon? Is that in stone?
It's pretty much in stone right now. Actually, if you look back historically, we really only wrote down to 250 a couple years ago, and then eventually started to come down market. They really wanted to get their feet under them first. They wanted to make sure that, from an underwriting standpoint, they weren't giving away the farm. So they made a slow, progressive move down to 50, and I just don't see them moving down much farther at this point. That's not to say they won't do it in a couple of years, but there's no grumblings about it right now.
And that's for medical, dental, everything?
That's actually just for the ancillary lines, so life insurance, disability.
Okay.
If we can do a...
Do you just do the disability and life insurance?
Correct.
Okay.
And absence management, which is FMLA and ADA. And then we also have accident and critical illness insurance.
Okay.
So those are some things that, kind of bring full circle the product suite that we can provide to you and your clients.
Okay.
So any industries that you guys target, or is it just across the board, or whatever kind of comes in the door?
It's pretty much, we do a very good job of representing local employers. We have good penetration, so it's whoever we can service. We don't focus on any particular industry. Given the makeup of the market or the area, it's predominantly blue collar, manufacturing, production, that type of environment, but we don't shy away. I mean, we have a couple municipalities, hospital, some car dealerships, we have a horse farm.
That must be in Kentucky.
It is actually, yes. And then, some more white collar. We have a couple physicians' offices. So really just, you pick it, we'll insure it.
Definitely. Are you you mentioned the horse farm, and not to digress, but are you into the horses, the ponies at all?
No.
No? Do you ever go to the races? Do you go to the Derby?
Sure.
Yeah? It's more for fun and really...
Yeah, I don't want my clients to see me there thinking that's why their medical insurance is going up, so I try to stay away from the carrier invites. I don't want to, perception is reality, so I want to be able to control that perception. So I don't want my clients to get the wrong idea.
That makes sense. So you just go for some fun sometimes, but
Sometimes.
really predominantly, on a Tuesday you're not going to go, which kind of makes sense. Okay, so that's actually, you mentioned the industries that you guys deal in, and from my aspect, I've only been here for 6 months, but prior to that I was with Mutual of Omaha in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And then prior to that I was with the Standard in Chicago. So new to Columbus, new to Cigna, but not new to the industry.
Why did you leave those companies?
Standard, I came right out of college, and they had a great training program. And I started training in St. Louis. They eventually moved me to Chicago, but I was calling on the hinterlands of Wisconsin. So I was calling on Green Bay, I was calling on Walsall, and I lived in Chicago. So to get up there, it was about a 3.5-hour drive one way. I was up there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday every week. Kind of didn't see the point in paying for an apartment if I was just going to travel the entire time.
Okay.
So just decided to explore some other options. I got a call from Tim Pitts, who's the current manager in the Columbus office, and I interned with him in 2006 at Cigna in Philly. And so he took the job with Mutual of Omaha, called me and said, any interest in coming back? I decided to,
Wait, he's the manager at Mutual of Omaha?
no, he's the manager in the Columbus office now, but he was previously the manager in the Philly.
He's the manager
Mutual of
for
Omaha.
Cigna?
Correct.
Gotcha.
In Columbus.
Okay,
But he was the manager of Mutual of Omaha in Philly.
okay.
But he had worked, again, like I said, he had worked previously with Cigna. They approached him again, and there were some offers. Decided to take a job in Columbus and needed a rep, and I followed him out.
Okay,
So that's how I got out here.
okay.
And I ended up buying a house, so I'm in it for the long term. I actually really enjoy Columbus. So
Whereabouts do you live?
I live in the Marion Village, German Village area.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with Thurman's Cafe.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone in Columbus seems to know where that is. So I live a couple blocks from there.
Okay.
But again, not to digress. Typically, the carriers that you work with, what do you like about them? But also, who are they?
Yeah, we have a pretty decent sized book of business with Unum. Quite a bit with Hartford, Lincoln. Dental, we do a lot with Delta Dental.
Okay. Big player.
We do some, we place a decent amount with Guardian and Med as well. But from a disability and life standpoint, Unum, Hartford, and Lincoln are probably my top three. We try not to go to a big market in terms of, when we send out RFPs, kind of have a handful in mind of who we think will be a good fit based on the risk in the industry and who has been able to solve problems for us in the past, call in favors, things of that nature. So, that when we do need to call in a favor, we have some leverage with those carriers. So while we have some other accounts spread out beyond those carriers, we try to, as much as possible, focus on kind of that core group of partner insurance companies.
That makes sense, and that's actually what I like to hear from brokers, that they don't go to 20 markets, putting in A, B, C, D carriers, really establishing those relationships, and I think that we align very well with Unum and Hartford, and I think you said Lincoln maybe.
Yeah.
Those are our main competitors. We're actually Cigna's one of the top 5 disability and life carriers in the nation.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if you're aware, but in 2011 and 12, we actually wrote the most disability. So, usually the perennial powerhouses are Hartford and Unum. So we looked at that as obviously a good thing. But aside from that, we were actually able to eke out, a 1.5% profit. So I take that as, we weren't out there trying to buy the business. We were going after the right risks, rating it well, and that's why we're in the situation that we were in. A lot of carriers right now are struggling with their loss ratios. Might maybe underpriced, or just maybe gotten some wrong industries. I used to actually work for the Standard, and just looking at what's happening with the economy, with municipalities. I mean, I wrote a lot of municipalities with them, and I can see that obviously workforces are dwindling. So I think that's hitting them a little bit hard from looking at their earnings and all the investor reports that have been coming out.
Okay.
So I was a little bit upset to hear that, but at the same time, it's the nature of the business.
Okay.
And just to give you a little bit about the Columbus story, one thing with Cigna in the Columbus market, we really never had local management here. We were always under either Indianapolis or Washington, D.C. So as long as those 2 offices hit their goal, it didn't really matter what happened in Columbus. About a year ago, they made the decision that they really wanted to grow this market. They wanted a local manager, and they wanted to bring in 2 reps. So that's how I became a rep with Cigna in Columbus, and it was something where I see it forward-facing, just home office support, and also my underwriter support, and really looking to get involved in this market. Also, perception of Cigna. I know that just from talking to other people, it seems like it was a bit of a revolving door. Do you have that same?
Yeah, I never really. I couldn't tell you. You could ask Marcy out front if she's sent RFPs to Cigna in the past. I'd see some of the reps at some of the health underwriter functions, but really have no experience one way or another, so I'd say because I'm unfamiliar with Cigna, I'm not comfortable with Cigna.
And I mean, I completely agree with that to the extent that, you know, it was a revolving door. There was never the same face coming in the door, if at all. And that's why I was brought out here. You know, they had the faith in me to bring me out here to grow this market, and you know, ended up buying a house.
Why do you think that is? Why don't you think? Why was there a revolving door? Why weren't the reps sticking?
I think that I think it was lack of local account management and lack of just home office support really focused in on the Columbus market. You know, when you don't have a manager there fighting for, you know, that market, I just think it kind of gets thrown to the wayside and people lose sight of it, especially when those bigger offices are hitting their goal. So that was something where, you know, I just see the push that they're making and right in all sorts of industries. You know, you had mentioned that you're in the production manufacturing, also hospitals, and those are areas where, you know, we're competitive in. Hospitals especially, but, you know, just coming in the end of November, wrote a couple construction companies and, you know, a ready-mix company. So something where we're not in one market, we're in many markets. One market that we're not maybe as competitive in would be the physician groups, but that's not to say that, you know, we don't find a diamond in the rough every now and again. We do have an own specialty contract, so that's something where, you know, we have a good fit in that space.
Is that what groups is the own specialty available for?
It's more for your general practitioners, some of the lower risk individuals, OBGYNs, maybe some orthopedic surgeons. I would say that we would stay away from anesthesiologists, maybe even some dentists.
What about attorneys?
Attorneys, no, we actually don't offer own specialty to attorneys.
Okay.
That's a market that, you know, we just never got into, and I don't think that we're going to get in anytime soon.
Okay.
I'm guessing you have some attorney groups?
A handful of small ones, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but that's just not really a market for Cigna.
Okay.
But really anything else across the board, you know, except for your dynamite manufacturing companies and the like, you know, that's something we're going to shy away from.
Okay.
But do you have any questions?
No, I think you'll need to talk to Marcy just as far as what you need to produce proposals.
Mm-hmm. And I actually have a stock list of just everything that we need in order to quote a group. So,
okay.
I mean, you're familiar, I'm sure. Over 100 lives STD, we need experience. But I can definitely put a list together and send that to her.
All right, that's good to know. What other types of business beyond, like, what would you say, you know, top 5 reasons for Cigna? What, you know, again, I'm not familiar with your contract language at all, your back office support,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, that's actually
in 60 seconds, tell me, you know, again, why. I'll be honest with you, Doug, just being out of that, you know, that under 50 market is going to limit us in some capacity, simply because those carriers are able to solve a need for us.
Mm-hmm.
So on those larger groups, we try to, you know, help the reps that have helped us in that segment. So I'll just be upfront with you. It's going to be a challenge to find you some opportunities, but tell me why, you know, where can you shine?
Absolutely. I think that one of the main things where Cigna is superior to other carriers is their disability management. We have a really good return to work philosophy. I look at it as we will pretty much bend over backwards to try and get somebody back to work. A lot of other contracts, disability-wise, will have certain schedules where it's $5,000 for a child care benefit. We actually don't limit those. We've got something in our contract that we just, it's a return to work philosophy where, you know, whatever we can do to get that person back to work, if we need to spend money on child care to get that person back to work, you know, we can do that, and it's not an issue. We don't want people to, once anxiety sets in, then I think it's harder to get people back to work. You know, spouse retraining education, vocational rehab, counselors, reasonable accommodation benefits, but also, aside from just the disability contracts, 250 plus accounts, we have local account management, and a lot of other carriers at this point are really taking back and putting everything into a centralized location.
Who are your local account managers?
My local account manager is Elisa Long. so she covers 250 to 5,000.
Okay.
And then I have a regional account manager in Lehigh Valley, which is